Hello, everyone. This is Gilbert Jalad. I'm talking to you here from CPLS headquarters. This is Tufts On Tax, where all your tax law questions are answered here. Any trouble you have having with taxes regarding lawsuits, trouble with employers, businesses, friends, and family, even with the IRS, your peace of mind is right here with Mr. T. Scott Tufts. He is the expert and the master when it comes to taxes and tax laws. You can call us, of course, anytime at 877-647-7887, or you can go to cplspa.com or tuftslawfirm.com, or simply email him at tufts@cplspa.com. Hello, Scott. How are you today?
Hey, good to be with you, Gilbert.
Awesome. We have so many questions for you today regarding taxes and tax laws. And you are, of course, as I said, you are the expert in this. So many questions people have, and they don't know how to ask them. So many things that they face because of taxes, and they don't know how to resolve them. So let us know. Give us an insight. You have different forms of taxes, like the 1099. You have the K-1. Give us a little brief about those and what does each one mean?
Sure. Gilbert, what we try and do, and I try and do to bring to help folks, is that when they hear a tax issue, they can tend to gloss over or just bury their head in the sand. It's actually the reverse. You want to get kind of proactive, so you have to get your courage up, if you will. And the information that's out there sometimes is confusing. What someone like myself will try and do is get the information to them. So with the 1099, K1, or whatever it is, it's to kind of get to the heart of what is the issue, what is the problem, what has got them concerned. They might get a 1099 that's wrong, a K1 that's wrong. What do they do next? My efforts are to help get through that process.
Wonderful. And all these questions regarding the taxes, now they might fall into problems or lawsuits that they have no idea about, or problems either with businesses, with the family and friends. Where do you come in this equation?
So I'm essentially the red phone for an accountant or a client or a matter when they run into a tax issue right in the middle of litigation, or that is creating litigation. Now, how can that happen? You could be in a business dispute, you could be in a family dispute, you could be in a divorce, and a K1 may appear. How will a K1 appear? It's because you're in a business together, either with another partner or whatnot, and this K1 is a key document because it's telling you what your results are that go on your tax form. A 1099 could be another issue with your employer. You are expecting a W-2, you get a 1099. Why? Because they're treating you as an independent contractor instead of an employee. The amounts can be wrong. A 1099 could be sent to you vindictively and you're in the middle of an employment or labor law dispute. The circumstances go on and on. A trust beneficiary may get a K1 that's incorrect, that doesn't represent what their expectations are. What a guy like me does, what I try and help them see, is that how does this form impact them in the middle of litigation or creating litigation? And I have the capability of getting in there and being of assistance and balance the issues that are tax related with realities, economics, money, and the problems that have been created. And so that's, and many of these structures, LLCs and partnerships, you have to have a good command over how those documents all work together, what the governing documents are. So it's bringing all that together that I hope to get the word out and get folks to see. And then if they have a problem, they come see me, whether it's the person involved, the accountant, another lawyer. This is just a high-end area, but where the forms come out of nowhere or they become critical to the issues. Hopefully I can bring some sanity to that situation.
I'm sure you will, and hopefully, definitely answer a lot of questions that people have regarding taxes, because when it comes to taxes, people just, freeze. They don't know what to do. They know so little about taxes. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. Of course, you are the expert on taxes and the master of all these laws, but let's talk more about you. What brought you to this point, and how is your background helping to answer all these questions and fight all these laws?
Gilbert, I started from school getting an accounting degree from Florida State University. I then got my law degree from Wake Forest University School of Law, and then a Master's of Laws in Taxation from the University of Miami School of Law. That background kind of laid the foundation by which I would take an interest in tax, but also bring it to the legal side of things. Spent many years, a decade, more on the transactional side of things, with some litigation with the IRS and whatnot involved in there. A heavy emphasis also on businesses, LLCs, how they were put together and so forth, and all of the agreements that go with estate planning and business. So that background kind of laid the foundation around 2004 in the post-Enron era. Folks might remember Enron and some of the abuses that were occurring then. What I kind of came to the conclusion of was that there were a lot of folks who were trying to litigate matters who needed a tax person to come in there and who could get into the courtroom and help deal with the matters in litigation. I also realized that for the transactional side is one thing, but when the disputes hit, what can you do? And there are certain forms, and there are many of them, and we'll be talking about them, that just precipitate or are a main function of or become pretty critical in litigation. And I've been able to canvass those over the past 15 years, figure out what those are, kind of work with them, and then know how to help folks when they have questions about them. So I'm kind of got that niche, but then I can get into the situation quickly and understand beyond tax kind of the realities of businesses, families, responsibilities, and parties. And so that's hopefully a kind of unique expertise that can come and help particular parties in a situation.
Well, you said before that taxes will impact people's lives severely, and depending on the situation, of course. Can you explain to us a little bit about that?
Well, there's all kinds of situations, but the main thing is the taxes have to be paid. If they're taken out of your paycheck, you may not notice it. You know, it might be just, hey, I'm taking care of it. You may get a refund every year, and taxes are not a prominent aspect of your life, even though they're impacting you at all time. But if you're an independent contractor and you're trying to put together the proper amount of expenses and analyze your own business, how is that then analyzed? Going beyond that, these forms that are very complicated. You might get a form that says you owe, that these are the items that go on your tax form. You take it to your accountant. You just hand it to them. The accountant puts it on your tax form. It results in a tax. You think, well, I've gotten no money. How can I be taxed? And there are situations where if a business holds the accumulated capital and doesn't make distributions to you in business, you may not have money, but yet there may be income. So you may have a form that says you owe that you have so much income to report on your tax form. You then put it on the tax form, or your accountant does, and then the accountant presents you with a tax bill, meaning that you owe on your tax form, and you may not realize or even expect that because you haven't understood that you can have a share of income without the money to pay the tax. So it's quite shocking to folks sometimes when they get in these predicaments. And you have to know all of the nuances if you can. And then you go back to agreements that you've entered into with partners or understandings you have with a spouse or so many different situations. Are you aware of what's going on? And then last but not least, Gilbert, a lot of this depends on what the accountants both guide you to do when you're preparing your return, what information you give to them. Sometimes they can only rely on what you give them, and they need the information, all the businesses you're involved in. So we look at the organizers that an accountant would give you and make sure that you've, what information have you told them, so forth. And last but not least, you may have a situation where you have folks who haven't filed in some time. And those are very difficult situations because matters that appear to be a civil matter can become criminal. And so all of these things can play in, and that's just a tip of the iceberg of some of the things we get into.
Sounds like it involves a lot of things that people need to pay attention to. So, according to what you're saying, some people, might face problems, or maybe they don't know of the problem or the lawsuit, but they would say, I don't need a lawyer. What is he going to do? I can fix this. I can do this. We don't need it. It's not that serious. How serious this could be?
So folks may use a software to help them prepare a tax form, maybe not even get to an accountant. They can only go by the questions asked on the software. If the software does not pick up the diagnostics of the situation I'm describing, then they won't know they have a problem until what? An IRS notice comes, a circumstance happens in litigation where the form comes up, and it's kind of my show where a K-1 appears. Someone will say, what in the world is a K-1? Well, they'll see it, it will come up in a discussion, and it's actually a name of a form. But the form becomes critical in a discussion, in a litigation, in a problem. And again, in so many contexts. The 1099, same thing. Someone may get a 1099 in the mail early part of the year, take it to their accountant, and then when it creates a issue where maybe there's a tax due on the tax form instead of where they thought they would get a refund, they may ask the accountant some questions. The accountant may come back and say, well, you got this 1099. And they'll say, well, what about the taxes that were withheld? And the person may say, the accountant will say, I don't see any indication of any taxes withheld. And there you go. So it really is hard to say what circumstance will prompt this. My hope, though, is if I get the buzzwords out on these forms, when the form comes up, they'll go, that guy was talking about that form. Oh, that's that form, and we have a number of them that we get the word out. And I just hope that can help folks as we discuss matters, Gilbert.
That's definitely important. And we're going to be talking more about this. This is just an introduction about what you can do for these people who are facing these problems or these lawsuits with employers or businesses or family or whatever the case might be. So we will be talking more about this. Everyone, you can call us at 877-647-7887 to ask for Mr. T. Scott Tufts. You can go to cplspa.com or tuftslawfirm.com, or simply just email him at stufts@cplspa.com. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and we will be coming back for more episodes to talk more in detail about all the forms like K-1, 1099, and so on. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.